Hello, class. Today we're going to talk about things that make up the basic structure of our Earth. Can you guess what we will be talking about today? I'll give you a hint. It's hard and there are many different types. You might think some are pretty and some are boring. If you're thinking rocks, then you're correct. So today we're going to become geologists, and we'll study the different types of rocks that you can find on Earth. Now, some of you might be wondering what a geologist is. Well, a geologist is someone who studies the solid parts of the Earth. That's because not all of the Earth is solid. I mean, look at the oceans. Geologists study not only rocks, but also how they change over time. Let's look at the first picture on the learning station. What do we see here?
I see a bear inside a cave.
It is a bear, and she's in something that looks like a cave, but it's not actually a cave. It's something called a fissure, which is a small opening in a rock. Now, look at this crack in the rock. These are huge rocks. What do you think is something that might make the rock break apart like this?
Maybe an earthquake?
Yes, an earthquake could probably cause the rock to break apart, or maybe running water over a really long time. Actually, how do you think water could cause rock, which is hard, to break apart?
I think when water freezes, it might be able to crack the rock open.
Why? Because you have water, and then it turns to ice, and what happens?
Whenever I freeze water, it seems to get bigger.
Yes, and that's actually how it breaks apart the rock. The water goes into a tiny little crack, and then when it freezes, it pushes the rock apart. And the next time, a little more water goes in, and it keeps pushing over thousands of years. So, let's look at this bear. What do you think she's doing here? Maybe looking for dinner?
I think she is looking at the rocks.
Yep, she is looking at the rocks. This bear actually has a very special job. She's a geologist. Do you remember what geologists do? Yes, a geologist studies rocks and how they change over time. Maybe the bear geologist is collecting rocks to study in her lab later. What kind of rocks do you think she might be studying? Hey, look over there. There's some striped rocks with different layers of colors. This rock is called sandstone. Sandstone is made up of tiny rocks that have been kind of glued together by minerals over time. It's also capable of holding a lot of water because it's porous. Now, what is porous? Porous means it has a lot of little holes throughout the whole rock, and those little holes can hold water. Alright, now let's listen to the learning station.
Welcome to today's lesson on Earth Sciences. Today we are going to explore geology, the science that studies the rocks and soil that make up our Earth.
Alright, so let's look at this picture on the screen. What do you see?
I see a lot of different rocks.
Yes, you're correct. Can you describe any of the rocks?
I see rocks that are round. They look smooth.
Yes, you can see these rocks are rounded on the edges instead of sharp. They also look very smooth. It kind of looks like these rocks might be in a shallow river. Do you know why they're round and smooth? It's because the water's been running over them for a long time. Even though water is only a liquid, it can slowly break down rocks. Did you know water was that strong? Just like the fissures we learned about in the first picture, the running water slowly breaks off small pieces of the rocks. This makes all the edges round and smooth. Water doesn't change the rocks very quickly, but it can change them a lot if it has enough time. The rocks in this picture, they probably started out with straight edges or sharp corners. And I bet you're wondering what it's called when the rocks break down like this. Did you know there's actually two different things that can break down rocks using only water? One way is called erosion. Water erosion breaks off the tiny pieces and washes them away. The other way rocks can become round is from something called abrasion. Abrasion is when tiny pieces of something hit the rock over and over and over. And this also breaks off small pieces of the rock. The longer a rock is in the moving water, like a river, the more broken down the rock becomes.
Rocks. Have you ever really looked at rocks?
Okay, so look at this picture. You see a boy looking at a big rock. Now, there are three main types of rock. They're called sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous. Now, you might be kind of curious about what makes these rocks different. Well, what makes them different is how they were made. Sedimentary rocks are made up of little pieces of sand, shells, and small fragments of rocks. These little pieces eventually harden into rock. But sedimentary rock is not really that hard. Some sedimentary rocks you could even break with your hands. Fossils are most often found in this type of rock. Alright, so our next rock is called a metamorphic rock, and they're found under the Earth's surface. So, deep in the Earth, it's very hot, and there's a lot of pressure. A lot of things are being pushed together. And these rocks are formed by the heat and the pressure squeezing and shaping different things in the ground. The process is called metamorphosis. And this is where the name of the metamorphic rock comes from. The final class is called igneous rock. It's made from magma underground and the lava above ground. Well, actually, magma and lava are the same thing, but we call it lava when it leaves the inside of the earth. Magma moves around underground and is always kind of just finding its way through the earth, but it can move to places that are cool enough where it can stop being a liquid. If it stops being a liquid, it hardens and turns into igneous rock. Lava cools much faster since it's obviously colder above the ground than deep under the earth. And that's what makes igneous rocks made from lava look different from the igneous rocks made from magma. The rocks in the picture can be made up from anything, sedimentary, metamorphic, or igneous. The rocks in the picture could be made up of any type of rock, sedimentary, metamorphic, or igneous. Now, looking at this picture, what do you see?
I see a boy.
I see a really big rock.
Yes, the boy looks like he's hiking and looking at rocks. If you go hiking, you can see a lot of different rocks. You can find giant rocks and really tiny rocks. And if you're lucky, you might even find a fossil. The next time you go hiking, look around very carefully, and you might find something amazing. Actually, can you remember what type of rock you're most likely to find a fossil in?
Is it metamorphic?
Remember, metamorphic rock is only made under the surface of the earth. So, while it's not impossible to find a fossil in metamorphic rock, it's not very common. There's another rock where fossils are made very easily in. Anne, what do you think?
What about sedimentary rock?
Sedimentary rocks? Yes, that's right. Sedimentary rocks are made above ground, which makes it easier for a plant or animal to be fossilized. The plants and animals get stuck in the layers of material that form sedimentary rocks. Now, let's look closely at the rock that the boy is looking at. I think he sees something interesting.
Bob, have you ever thought about why rocks look the way they do?
The yellow and orange spots on the rock could be quartz. Quartz is a mineral. One of the materials that rocks are made from is minerals. Now, all rocks have minerals, but the minerals inside of them also can form something on their own. Quartz is one of these things. Quartz is a hard crystalline mineral, and crystalline just means it's kind of like a crystal. Now, quartz can be any color, but in this picture, it's yellow and orange. The boy probably saw the quartz shining in the sunlight from far away. I bet you're probably wondering why this rock looks like it does. In the other picture, the rocks were all smooth and round. But in this picture, they have sharp edges and it looks very rough. Now, all rocks look different because of how they were made and the materials that make them up. But things like erosion can make rocks look different.
Have you ever thought about why rocks look the way they do? Some are shiny, some are dull.
Let's look at these different rocks. Can you compare them to each other?
Yes, both types of rocks are colorful. They aren't just brown or gray.
Good observation. Rocks can be many different colors based on what materials are in the rocks. If a rock has iron in it, it will look red or brown. Where the rocks are formed also has an effect on the color. For example, a diamond and your pencil actually both have something in them made from carbon. And this is found in a rock. Now, a rock made with a lot of pressure and heat might have diamonds in it and be shiny. A rock made with a little less pressure and heat might have the stuff you can write with, and it'd be a little less shiny. Even though carbon could be in both rocks, it looks different because of how the rock was made. Okay, can you compare these two rocks? Do you see any differences between them?
I see something different. They are both different colors. Also, the green one isn't as shiny as the pink rocks.
Yes, they are different colors. That means the rocks have different minerals in them, and they also could have been made in different ways. In geology, when a rock is shiny, it's called luster. The pink rocks look very shiny. The green one isn't shiny at all. In geology, we would say it has dull luster. If you hear the word dull, it means it doesn't look shiny. Can you think of any other rocks that are dull or shiny?
Gold is shiny.
Very good. Gold is quite shiny. Can you think of any others?
The rocks in the first picture weren't shiny.
Yes, and that's because the bear was surrounded by sandstone. Now, sandstone has a dull luster. It doesn't reflect the sunlight very well.
Some rocks have sharp, jagged edges, while others are smooth.
Oh, look at these rocks. They seem quite interesting. Can you describe anything special about these rocks?
I think the rocks on the left make up a mountain range. They look like they have snow on them as well.
I think you're probably right. Did you know that there are many mountain ranges on Earth? Some of the most popular mountain ranges are the Andes in South America and the Himalayas in Asia. Have you ever gone hiking on a mountain before?
Yes, I hiked Soraksan with my family before. There are many mountains in Gangwon-do province.
Ah, that's right. Many families love to hike the mountains in Korea during the fall season when the trees are changing colors. But do you know how mountain ranges are formed? Well, there are a few ways that they can happen. Underneath our feet, there are large sections of earth called tectonic plates. They are constantly moving at a very slow pace. When they move, they sometimes push into each other. Now, imagine you bump into your friend. Somebody has to move, right? Well, when this happens with the tectonic plates, it can cause an earthquake from the vibrations that occur with this movement. Also, it can create mountain ranges. This can happen when two plates push against each other. The force pushes the earth up and makes a lot of dirt, forming a mountain over a long period of time. This can also happen if a plate overlaps another one, pushing it up to the surface. The last way a mountain range can be made is by volcanic eruption. These eruptions are normally because there's a thin layer of the Earth's crust where magma can rise up to the surface. These eruptions can also happen because of an earthquake. When the magma rises to the surface, it turns into lava, and after it erupts, it becomes cool and turns into rocks, which forms many layers that can build up and form mountains over time. If you've ever looked at pictures of the Earth from billions of years ago, you might notice that the shape of our continents was different. That's because tectonic plates move very, very slowly over a long period of time. All right, everyone. Well, great job studying today, and I'll see you next time.